Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to another author interview. We're here with Kate Komula. I said it right, yes! I was like so close. But off screen, we're talking a little bit about that. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And welcome to the Cozy Book Nook. This is the first time you've been here, correct?
It is, yeah.
And we met at the Mid-Ohio Indie Author event.
In Grove City, yeah.
Okay, and then Kate Overline, we're so excited to get her in here because she's got a couple of books here we're going to talk about. So which one came out first?
On Ice.
On Ice. So we have On Ice here, and then we have the new one is Welcome to the Show.
Yeah, that
Welcome
one
to the Show.
just came out in August. So.
And how long have you been writing?
So officially writing probably like during the pandemic, I would say. Everyone's stuck at home and bored, and
so instead of making bread, you were working on the writing. Okay.
Yeah. I had a small kitchen in my apartment at that time. There was not enough room for bread, so but writing's kind of always been one of those creative outlets that I've had. I just didn't even think about publishing it until getting onto like Book Talk and Bookstagram and seeing all these other indie authors doing it. So
is that how you kind of came across really?
I didn't even know it was like really possible to do it yourself until seeing these other people do it.
That's a good point, because I wonder how many people are out there that would have a good story to tell, and that maybe just didn't realize there were others already out there doing it. I guess that they're all social media at this point, though.
Yeah,
it seems like, especially with like Book Talk and people now, it seems like there's like an overabundance of indie authors are out there that
I wouldn't say overabundance.
I follow quite a few, and I just love, I guess, with indie authors how passionate they are too. Like they're just passionate about writing. They're passionate about selling the books. If we get our bookstore gets any likes like on TikTok, it's usually from authors that we already follow or that we've had here and met.
Yeah,
these are pretty good size. So I mean, starting off with a pretty good sized book on your first one. How long did it take you to write?
That one was about 2 years. Again, I wasn't entirely sure that I was going to be writing it, so it took a little bit longer. I don't know if you are one of those readers or writers where you like see it in your brain and all, but like it plays in a movie, so I end up with like just like the dialogue and pictures happening, and I have to go back in and like really beef it up with the detail.
Nice.
So obviously, like, getting through that first round was like, oh, this is fine for like my creative side, but then adding in the extra when I decided, hey, I can publish it, was probably the longer bit of that.
Right, because now that you realize, hey, I can actually, I mean, you still got a lot more than just writing. You got the multiple drafts, the editing, you have the cover, and then uploading, ordering copies. I mean, there's a little marketing. You really had to take that jump, that leap. Faith to do that.
I like to say, and I don't know if anyone else has heard me say this, that I feel like being an indie author, and specifically a romance author, it's a lot of like hope and a prayer, but a prayer to like the patron saint of smut, because like I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time, but it's kind of worked out.
Well, you kind of have to have a passion. I mean, a lot of people that are watching, we have a kind of a mixed bag of readers and writers, and I think the writers completely understand is like how difficult it is, to put pen to paper, or to type those words out, the sentence and the paragraphs and the pages.
That part is so difficult, but then I feel like as you go, like probably too, like there are so many other things that I am uncovering and finding that like I had no idea went into being an author, like the marketing portion of it, the just like social media in general, and then finding events to go to, getting your book into stores. It's been a lot of learning.
Yes, a lot of learning. I mean, the nice thing is, we were just talking this before we came on too, that how the community has grown too. I published my first book back in 2015, but I was always thought that authors were isolated. I never really met other indie authors at that time. And then I ran into Rochelle, and now I'm just in awe of this writing community that's out there. that's very supportive. Writing's always been competitive. I feel like that competitive is more on the lines of like the traditional, trying to get those publishers, trying to be like bestseller. But when it comes to indie authors, it's more of a supportive group where everybody's just like, oh, you're an indie author, so am I. Like something we have in common, and you can talk about everything. You can talk about like how you went through the whole book process.
Yeah, I think that's a part of why I started out not really thinking about publishing, because in my brain it was that traditional format and that competitiveness that I am just like, I'm not a competitive person at all. But seeing, the indie authors and getting to know them and building relationships even just over social media and then like giving advice and everything, it really kind of solidified like, okay.
Now, do you have a favorite platform to kind of engage with some fans?
Probably TikTok.
Yeah.
I like the short videos and like the sound bites that people do like different goofy stuff with, but I'm trying to build my Insta and trying to post more there. It's not fun, but it is at the same time.
One thing we learned is every medium is different, right? So it's you can't, even if you do post across the board, some things are only made for certain mediums, and you have to.
Yeah, it's talk about another thing to learn is the socials, right? Like it's a constant learning, even with those, because they're constantly evolving. So.
Now, having kind of like started in 2020, that's really when TikTok really kind of blew up.
Yeah.
When everybody was stuck indoors. Did you start the marketing before?
I did.
You were finished writing, maybe before finished publishing, or how that?
I started reading again because of Book Talk. I definitely had a stretch there where I wasn't really, it wasn't a constant need to pick up a book and finish it, unlike now.
Right.
But yeah, once I started kind of going through and doing the edits for my first one, I did start kind of posting about it, mostly because like seeing other indie authors' journeys and seeing them in that same, like section or point in their journey was cool. So it was nice to have something that related there. So I did start kind of teasing it and posting, hey, I'm writing at this random bookstore or cafe, and it helped. It definitely helped.
I think people like that too. As a reader, I think like even with like Rawlings, one of the things they liked about her story is how she was almost homeless. She was writing on tissues. And I think now we like to see how the authors are in there and they're writing after. I remember with Clive Cussler, remembering how he would wait till everybody went to sleep and be writing for hours, because that's the only time he had to write was in the middle of the night.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that builds that bond, with other people who are pursuing it. It's like,
more relatable.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone. So you start working on social media. These covers, I don't know if you're familiar with like romance. They tend to have like a certain a color, or sometimes, and this is like a new popular.
The cartoon.
Did you go through a graphic designer or?
I found an artist online to do the character portion of it, and then he did the rest on Canva. Honestly, because I really wanted it to be something that I have a hard time letting go of those things. I think we discussed that earlier too. Having that creative control on the covers and being able to like manipulate different parts of it was important to me. So I found someone who was willing to do the character portion and then built on it from there. But yeah,
I remember back in the day, like, because I do Photoshop and stuff, I was like be impressive to people, like, oh yeah, I do Photoshop, I can do those, I make my own covers. And now, with a lot of indie authors, they have to learn that skill themselves because they can't always afford it. Or, like you, they have a vision that they want specific, and they don't want to just turn it over.
Hard to find someone that can take the image that's in your brain and put
make it into reality.
Yeah. So that was honestly like the closest way I could do it.
I love it. And with the things like Canva's free, or the free version, it's so useful. Obviously, so many authors being able to just design entire covers using that. And then you got Word docs that you can just use for typing. As a story. It's one thing I found as an indie authors. There's just so many. I didn't realize that the tools were already there. to write your own
You
story.
work smarter, not harder.
Right.
A lot of these
right.
things,
Exactly.
Sure.
Now, are these connected or what's
they are interconnected standalones. Same hockey team, different players or relationships from there. The first one is the captain of the team and the brand new PR person. The second one is his best friend and the goalie. He actually falls for captain's little sister. So, those tropes that just kind of like tug for romance readers. I had to. When I wrote like a little bit of both of their side characters in the first one, I was like, yeah, they're together. Like, I already know it.
Well, that's one thing about being the writers. Like, your characters are kind of like evolving as you're writing them too. So when you first write this one, you really don't have all the other books like planned out. A lot of times you have these side characters, and as you're writing, like, this one's becoming more interesting. It could be you. Sometimes the readers start pointing out, like, we really like this character. Can you spend a little more time with this particular one? That'd be great.
That happened with the first one, and people wanting Will, the goalie, but I had already started it, so
nice.
It worked out. I don't think I've really told many people, but the third one I've already started, and it is another side character from here, but it's going to go a little back to the beginning of the hockey team, and a little like dive into that. So it's going to be Tom and Sarah, which our friend over here is excited about, but
you could literally write anything. I'm excited about it.
So you read both of these?
I have.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
I was lucky enough to have her as an ARC reader for book 2. So,
love it.
It was quite an amazing journey, to be honest, to be a part of that.
So these time periods are these like this takes place and this takes place afterwards, and the other ones kind of like go back a little bit, or are these like
yeah, so this one, there's some minor overlap.
Okay.
But it is timeline.
Okay.
But I don't know. I felt like the characters in my third one didn't really get enough of their story told. So I was like, I have to write that one. I don't know if I will necessarily do it as like a prequel, because I feel like it's going to be more of like a bookend of this section of the team.
Well, that's the thing about the authors. You can do whatever you want, honestly.
Like,
there's no wrong answer when it comes to like
another perk of being an indie author rather than
exactly,
Chad, right?
Exactly. Them telling you, no, it needs to go a specific way. Is this going to be like an ongoing series, or you already got like a set number in mind? Or?
So right now...
Not to spoiler alert, so...
Don't worry.
Not set in stone.
Right now, I just have the 3 in mind. However, it being a hockey team, there are 26 plus guys on the team, plus everyone else at any given time. It's definitely something that I feel like I will probably go back and
flesh out some more characters.
Probably. The faces that are being made off screen.
It sounds like you may have some fans that maybe they'll help you out which ones to start with.
I'm sure. I'm sure. But yeah, I have other ideas that will just be standalones that I'd like to get done and out there before. No other characters are really calling to me yet, but there are some side characters that I could potentially flesh out a little
maybe
bit
once
more.
you start doing that, maybe like those are developed. Maybe some of those side characters, that were the peripherals, right? I think that's one of the fun parts about being. I always ask if you're a plotter or a pantser too. One of the nice things about being a pantser is that sometimes you don't even know.
I have tried
where
plotting.
some stories are going to go.
I've tried plotting, and my characters are like, "No, that's not happening."
Just let us live our lives. We'll tell you where it ends up.
Exactly.
And I think we talked. I can't remember earlier about like the spice level on these. What can people expect?
Well, I had to confer with one of my best readers. Probably around a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
So nothing too crazy. It's definitely plot with spice, as opposed to spice with plot. So you get their story. You get. I like to call it more of like a real life situation. It's not them being they're professional hockey players. So you're gonna get a little bit more of those adult relationships, and they've been through stuff. life is messy, so you're not gonna get like, oh, this is a perfectly tied up ribbon of a story. You're getting their flaws. You're just getting raw people, I think.
Well, I think that's what people like too. They like the fact that when they're reading this, they gotta have flaws. They gotta have those in order to connect with people when they're reading it. You know, they're like reading the stories and like I attach to certain characters in that because I see where they're coming from. And I think that's one of the nice things about being a writer. It's not just telling stories, but actually reaching people that that can see themselves like in these stories and their situations and stuff.
That's been, I think, one of my favorite things. Like hearing from people is like how they've connected. Even my editor, when we were going through book 2, we were kind of talking about that, and I don't want to give away a lot, but just Lilith's journey in that book was close to home for her and I think a lot of readers. So,
Interesting. And we talked a little bit about as far as getting these books out. Like you started getting into like some of the indie book. What's the publishing? And cut. What's the word I'm looking for? Like going to like the Mid-Ohio Indie author events, I guess. Okay.
Vendor events?
Like author events, okay. I'm going to go back to that. Now, we talked a little bit about the books. Let's talk a little bit about like the journey to get these in the hands of readers. Because as any author will tell you, is like writing it like is hard enough, but then you also got to find ways of getting them in. And you started doing author events and vendor events, and how's that journey been?
So my first author event was actually a year ago November. It was Cozy and Bookish in Miamisburg. And I lucked out. One of my best friends actually is one of the organizers for that, and she was like, hey, you want to do this, right? And I was like, of course I do. So I went, I took, I think, 30 books, and I sold out, and I was like completely flabbergasted. Had no idea that would
and that's
happen.
That's not the norm, so that's very good. It speaks very highly of your books, your character, everything. So wow.
I was completely overwhelmed in the best possible way by that, and then it obviously having that happen, it motivates you to keep going. So I think another indie author that you have here and I just kept sending applications for different events back and forth, and I think I've had probably 12 events this year.
Nice. Mostly
in Central Ohio.
Very nice.
But it's been great meeting readers and other authors and through that. So I don't know if my experience is necessarily the norm, but I definitely, like anyone who has reached out about like, oh, how do I do this? I was like, you have to do local events, and I have made it kind of, I don't want to say like my passion, but kind of to get into indie bookstores and work with that, because it is such I feel like a give back and forth kind of relationship with the local bookstores too, because like you guys are willing to take a chance on us and vice versa even. So
and now you see why we love you so much. I do say this like a lot of the interviews I'm talking to them, I just love the passion, and you just get that from indie authors, because even if like you're maybe your level of success is above par, but the amount of work you put into it and the research and packing up your books and putting them in your trunk of your car and going to these things is the norm. A lot of these indie authors, they're out there, they're looking for these events, they're driving around with just boxes of books in their trunk. We go door to door if they let us, or if we felt like
I don't know if I would do
out.
that. That's a lot of people. I don't know, but yeah, you guys should have seen my car at the last event I went to. I think I posted a picture actually on socials that it was completely full. Like I could barely see out of the back of my car.
Love it.
But it's worth it. It's worth it even just to meet readers.
People, right? Yeah. And one thing I found too when I started interacting with readers is a lot of times it's not the book necessarily they're buying. It's you. Like they hear your story and your passion for the characters, And like, you know, and that's one of the things we do when we like end up buying indie books after during these book signings, is that when they talk about their books, they're so passionate about the characters, so passionate about the stories. They're like, I have to read that myself now. I need to know what happens.
I feel like even more so in indie publishing is that like there's even more of us into these stories than the people. I hate like generalizing. This is definitely just my opinion, but there's more of us in these stories and in these characters than people who have to churn out, you know, 10 books in X amount of years for contract purposes.
And you got to think about that because they want books that sell.
Yeah.
So a lot of times they need to they modify. That's why we get a lot of like redundancy, a lot of like similarities in all these movies and books, because they know what sells.
Yeah.
And they only want what sells. But you get a lot more raw, like emotion and raw stories when you don't have that control.
Yeah, I found too, like even if you have a similar, you know, subplot, their stories they're so different still, because like it is like such a chunk of that author in the books.
Yeah.
Like, you know, my friend whose book is here as well, she also has a PR person in her first one, and we both read it and we're like, okay, they're so different still. Like they're not I don't know. You don't feel like you have to compete because they are so different still.
I guess that kind of leads to the question of how did you decide maybe to this particular genre or that particular sport? Do you enjoy hockey?
I do. So I'm a bit of a Jill of all trades. I didn't really know what I wanted to do at 18. I don't know how people decide what they're gonna do at 18 out of high school. So I tried a few different things, and one of the things was doing hair. So I was doing men's hair for kind of like 8 to 10 years, and mostly men. So we'd have Sports Center on all the time.
You look good too.
Hey, you know, if they had your head of hair, I'm sure a lot of those men would be a lot happier. But one of the things that we didn't have to watch all the time was hockey. So I I am still like a football girly. I'm a Buckeye fan through and through. But hockey was the one thing that was like mine, and I didn't have to watch it. So I got into it and actually like just started writing because I was a fan of it. And I was like, oh, what would it look like? And then the rest is, I guess, history at this point.
I love it because that's one thing is like, you have to kind of select what kind of genres and you may end up, working with that genre for your whole career. So, it's a big decision.
Definitely lucked out that hockey romance is having its moment.
I think
for
so.
Sure.
I think so. And, like I said, you're kind of the perfect storm where, the hockey romance in general, indies are really taking leap forward. I think a lot of people are looking for that.
Those prayers to the patron saint of smut have really worked out, that's for sure.
Well, they're also meeting all these authors too. You go to this author's event, you're meeting the authors that that written these books, and they're just in awe. Like I would start doing vendor events, people walk up to me like, "Oh my God, you wrote this?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh my God!" They're like, they're just so enthralled.
I definitely still fangirl over anyone who is fangirling over me. Like I am like, wait, you read it already?
Instant friends. Can we just become best friends?
You bought it as a trophy?
Yes, very nice.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the nice things of being kind of forced to do these events. Whereas, I guess if you're like a big name, traditionals, like you rely on just sales, like in bookstores and stuff. But when you're indie, you just have that lot more personal connection to readers because you almost everybody's bought your book. You've probably seen them face to face, except just like a few that maybe just bought them online, have stands. But most people probably like you've seen them, you talk to them, and it's just that's an amazing experience. And that's one thing I love about being in indie stores. Like whenever we sell a book, an indie book, that indie authors are just ecstatic. I mean, they're just happy. It's like you make their world. And I explain to readers when they come in too. I'm like, when you go in, you buy one of these books, just know that this author is gonna be so appreciative.
Yeah.
They're gonna really, they're gonna want to know who you are and like, what they thought about it, and
I always tell people like, and I think Maya knows. Jump in my DMs, like please. I want every reaction that you are willing to send me.
If you're like over 50 and a guy and you don't read, That's different invitation that she's talking specifically for.
While you're reading.
That's an open invitation.
While you are reading.
It's on YouTube.
If you are reading my book, I would love your reactions to my book.
Yes. Yes. I'm looking at you.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
That's the cybersecurity background. It's like, okay, kids, everybody
That
come off your background. That was close. Oh man, well, it's a pleasure having you here, and we're really looking forward to having your books on our shelves. We're looking forward to telling people about them and get these in the hands of eager readers. And just so everybody out there knows, all of our links are going to be in the description below. So make sure that you check out our books, but also follow our socials. All that goes a long ways. And if you're looking for that kind of like a relationship with an author that you may not get with some of the bigger names, where you send an email and you don't even know it's going to the right person, they love when they get messages and stuff or get feedback on their books or get a rating. Ratings are very important. They do appreciate that so much, and so we appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate
and welcome to the Cozy Book Nook.
I'm happy to be here. Happy to have my books here.
Now, book number 3. When can we? Is there?
No specific date yet, but I'm thinking early 2025.
Early 2025.
Yeah.
All right.
I was pushing for an event that I have in January, but I don't think it's gonna happen because I booked myself a little too much with events. But
yeah, you can't write while you're hustling.
Unfortunately, no.
But it does give everybody out there enough time to get your books, read them, and prepare themselves for the next one coming out. So, Kate, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We want to thank everybody in the studio audience. We need those fake claps.
They were fake.
They were. Don't need the whole laugh tracks and stuff. That sounded horrible. And everybody that takes the time to watch this video, thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you in the next interview. Now, if you excuse us, we're going to go enjoy some more tea, sign some books, and just enjoy our evening. So, thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll see you in the next interview. Bye.